Today, I want to talk to you about why I don't carry a business card. Funny thing for a marketing and salesperson to say. Anyway, hey everybody, Dennis Schiraldi, founder of DOYO Live, the digital marketing interactive design conference, coming to you on a home office day. I know, right? You all woke up this morning, especially if you're in Youngstown, Ohio, to see a lovely blanket of snow, right? Yay! Not really. It's March. We're hoping that winter's going to be over soon. But anyway, thank you so much for dropping by. It means everything in the world to me that you are here, that you follow us on social media, and that you like, share, and comment on our posts. We have some very exciting stuff to get to today. I want to talk to you about networking and some best practices and tactics that I deploy that I can relate to you. Some of these are going to work. Some of you are going to think, he is just absolutely crazy the way that I approach it. But really, at the end of the day, I want to share with you some tips and tell you exactly why I don't carry a business card. But before we get into that, there's one thing I want to do first. First and foremost, I want to talk to you a little bit about DOYO Live. It's taking place August 2nd and 3rd in 2017. And we have a fantastic lineup of speakers. First, I want to thank our committee made up of Dr. Adam Earnhardt, Jayetta Jackson, Michael Ponticus, Becky Bertuzzi, Andrea DiPaolo, and also Joanna Schiraldi. These individuals got together and went through over 45 breakout session leader submissions to distill it down to around 20 to 22 people that are going to end up being breakout session leaders at DOYO Live in 2017. And what differentiates us from other people that are out there or other conferences is the fact that Dr. Adam Earnhardt is the chair of the School of Communications at Youngstown State University, and he's dedicated and devoted everything he does on a day-to-day basis of putting together curriculum to prepare students for the professional world in communications, in social media. He's helping to place interns, very adamant about that, and we have blending that academic and the business sense as well to really develop rich content. Jayetta Jackson is going to be a PhD. I think it's within the next year or two. She's finishing up, and she's also contributing to that curriculum development, which is ongoing professional development. That's exactly what we're talking about here when we're talking about a marketing conference and having breakout session leaders. The third one is Michael Ponticus. He's a Youngstown State marketing professor. And also this week, he has a group of students in New York City, the Big Apple, for a New York City marketing agency tour. And that's a really awesome thing that he's got the students that are out there, getting them engaged, getting them interested in networking, runs YSU Ads Club, and also has a branding creative shop and is the creative director for DOYO Live. So these individuals not only live in that academic sense, but they also live in that professional world as well. And again, they're helping to pull together the curriculum that a lot of other marketing conferences necessarily don't deploy. We've got Becky Bertuzzi, who has a branding company called B Square Graphics, and is also a marketing director at VEC Electric locally in manufacturing, and really helping us with not just the branding, but also B2B marketing in the manufacturing space. So we make sure that we've got that covered. And Becky, thank you so much for joining. I just name dropped you. Ralph Fajak, Big Cat, next Friday, March 17th, the first Friday of March Madness, and St. Patty's Day. He's coming back for the second tour, so I'm very excited about that. Andrea DiPaolo is from WFMJ Vindicator Valley Digital Services, a year-long benefactor sponsor of DOYO Live, and it's awesome that she's at the table to be able to help with contributions as well. And then Joanna Schiraldi, she does a fantastic job of keeping all the glue together, running down a lot of operational things, very involved from an events perspective. We had awesome swag that we gave away last year. Everybody had a great experience, and she manages a lot of that stuff there. Second thing I want to talk about is that the differences. So thank you, committee, first of all. Thank you so much. Without them, these things are just very difficult, to be able to pull it all together and work on that. So their contributions, their opinions mean everything to me and to the conference and the success of the conference as well. Second thing I want to talk about today is that what's different between this year and last year is that we will have 2-hour deep dive workshops from 3 to 5 p.m. on the Wednesday prior to the all-day event. There are 3 workshop leaders that are right now, we've identified 2 of them. One of them is going to be Deanna Facillo, and she's going to be giving a workshop for women entrepreneurs specifically. We're limiting these to 25 people per workshop. So that's going to be a really exciting one that I think a lot of people are going to gravitate to. And then we have a gentleman coming out of Columbus, Ohio, who was one of our keynotes last year, Mr. Nate Riggs, who is going to give a workshop on evaluating your technology stack. So you've got CRM, marketing automation, you've got syndication tools, social media listening tools, you've got your email marketing, and there's so much technology out there in the marketing technology space that helps you manage your business. So he's going to conduct a 2-hour workshop to help people identify their current technology stack and how they're leveraging it, and then putting together an ROI and a case study that you can walk out of there with a tangible road path as to see which direction you're going to go. Again, that's limited to 25 people. You could come to DOYO Live workshops. You could come to the DOYO Live marketing event, which is on Wednesday, August 3rd from 8 to 7, 9, whatever time we decide to end it for that night. But you could get an all-inclusive pass as well for workshops and also the DOYO Live event. So really super pumped about that. And then what else is going to be different, which is I think is going to be really cool, is that we are currently going to start taking video submissions for content branded videos. These are big. If you're looking around the web, you're seeing a lot of people starting to put together micro video content, whether it's a very short clip for content that's going to be created and produced for Snapchat, or a minute long for Instagram, or 2-3 minute kind of very artsy, interesting videos that tell a story about a brand. And so what we're going to do is we're going to have an interactive lounge at DOYO Live in 2017. I think it's going to be really cool. We're going to have these branded content videos running on a loop throughout the entire day, and the people that hopefully submit these videos will be on hand to answer questions, talk to you creatively, and just be a good resource. So we want to make it as interactive as we possibly can. Melissa Nagy, thanks so much for dropping by today. We're gonna have a big announcement with you here pretty soon. And then Dr. Mike, thank you as well for dropping by. So today's show is a solo performance. Next week you're gonna want to join us because Mr. Ralph Fajak will be sitting shotgun, and we'll be talking about all sorts of interesting, fun marketing, sales, networking, and with Ralph, you just never know what direction the two of us will end up taking that. So really looking forward to our show next week. But in the meanwhile, I want to talk to you today why I don't carry these. Look, this is a stack. There's no doubt in my mind that when you see these that I value a business card, but I've not carried a business card in probably 10 years. And that's no exaggeration. And you're probably thinking to yourself, somebody in marketing or sales, how can you not carry a business card? That is like kind of the calling card, if you will, of the bare bones necessity that everybody in business is pretty much, that's one of the first things you do when you onboard out in the company is you get a computer, a phone, and you get a business card. And there's a couple of reasons why I made a conscious decision just a long time ago to not do it. One thing that I was thinking about doing, well, first of all, the reason I don't do it is because I think that it makes me work harder to get engaged and really invest in the other person and be memorable and not just rely upon this. I think that there's a lot of people out there that, email marketing or social media marketing, and a lot of that's classified as spam. And I think that's what happens from a business card perspective. So you go to a networking event and you see the person, and if you're one of them, I don't know what to tell you. Like, if it offends you, then I hope it doesn't offend you too broadly. But they walk around and everybody in the room, they're giving them a card. And it just seems to me that you're relying upon a card to do the job of you investing in the other person that's on the other side of the conversation. So I got away from a business card to really have more discipline with the fact that I want to invest and engage more so in the individual. The second thing that I do is it forces me to become more memorable. I think that from my perspective, again, I want to have these deep, meaningful conversations. And I want to invest in that other person. The more memorable I can be, they're going to remember me, And that engagement is going to be further down the path than it is if I've got the business card. But the one thing I definitely do, it's kind of called selective networking, is that as I get engaged in a conversation with an individual, and I do feel that there's necessity for follow-up, I don't put it to chance, because when you hand your business card over to another individual that you really want to connect and you really want to network, you really want to control the follow-up as much as you possibly can. And by handing somebody a business card with nothing in return, leaves it all up to by chance and by hope. And unless you're running for president, hope's really not a great strategy. So I will ask for a business card. I value business cards. I take business cards all the time. And when they say, do you have a business card? I make a joke and I say, yeah, not, like it's pretty funny. A marketing guy doesn't carry a business card. I'm out of them, or I'm in the process of getting some new ones, or I don't have them. In any case, I'll make sure that I promise I'll make sure I follow up with you. And what that does is it puts me in control of the follow-up. I then walk away and I make notes. And I make notes about something specific that we talked about in our conversation, where we met, and maybe what the transaction was. Because when I follow up, and for those of you that are the mid-90s babies here, you'll relate to the movie Swingers, where there's a date scene and the guy meets a date in the bar, Jon Favreau, and he goes, how soon should I follow up? A day? No, you wait 2 days, Mikey. You always wait 2 days, right? So, how quickly do you want to follow up is obviously into the conversation, but when that happens, and I usually wait to the next day, and I'll send some sort of email, but I will reference something very specific to that conversation. So a lot of people, where they stop short is they say, hey, great to meet last night at the networking mixer or at the fundraiser. Yeah, that was great. But then I take it another step further because I make the notes. Hey, it was great to meet at the network fundraiser. I really enjoyed your story about the golfing trip that you went on to Ireland. I would love to hear more about that. And then I end it with the call to action. Would love to hear more about that. Would you have time to grab coffee in the next week? Sometimes I say I'm even more specific, and I say the particular date and the time. The reason why I typically will invite the person to coffee, because coffee is a lot cheaper than a full-blown lunch. So excuse me. So that's kind of how I roll when I'm at a networking event. As far as the reason why I don't grab a business card. Number one reason is because I want to control the conversation. I want to be selective. I want to be disciplined. I want to be more memorable. Let's talk a little bit about networking for just a second. And one of the things that, when you walk into a room, networking is, it definitely is an art. And for introverts, it's a very challenging thing to do. And even for people that are, gregarious and outgoing, you have to figure out where and how to spend your time. But I will tell you that from my perspective, I'm willing to go out to a fundraiser or an event where there's going to be a number of people and shake hands, kiss babies, and slap towels and meet and talk with people. But I'm always making sure that I'm engaging with them. Here's the basic rules of principle, because we have people from all spectrums of life that hop on these DOYO Live dailies. We have from here at the beginning of the professional career, and what I mold young minds down at Youngstown State University in my classes, to the people that are masters at it. And the fact is that you always have to make sure that it's a warm, firm handshake that matches the intensity of the other person. There's nothing worse than when I get the cold fish handshake, or I get somebody with just pure brute strength that actually makes me want to put a knee on the ground. So I always try to match the intensity of the handshake for the other person. I always want to make sure that I make eye contact and I smile with a warm smile. Look, people at the end of the day want to talk to people that look exciting and interesting and fun to talk to, not somebody that is kind of, right? Like, who do you want to talk with? The smiling person that's got some energy and some aura, or do you want to talk with Debbie Downer? So shake hands, look people in the eye. And my number one thing is invest in them. I have been to so many networking events and fundraisers, again, that people essentially look directly, it's easy to look over me, but they look directly through me to see who's more important in the room, and are giving me the old, if you could kindly just get out of my way, I see somebody that's more important than you. For me personally, I want to know everybody in the room, from the bartender, who's a very important person to maybe get you that next cocktail when the line's extremely busy, to the person that's walking around with the tray of food, to the person that's standing across from me, whether they're the janitor or the CEO. And I'm going to invest in meeting that individual, learning their story, learning about them. And because of that, I may not have the quantity, but I have the quality. And the other thing that I make sure that I'm not looking around the room to see who's more important in that conversation. If I'm talking to another individual and you kind of see somebody off on the side, then you can kind of tell whether or not they're getting in line, to kiss the ring of the person that you might have the ear of. Or better yet, they may actually want to talk to you. I pull them into the conversation, and if I know the other person, I create a contact or an introduction. And I tried to do that because then it brings more value into the conversation, and some people will decide to stick and some people will not decide to stick. I'm really bad at names. So not only am I bad at business cards, I'm also bad at names. I hack names up, not on purpose. Typically what I'll try and do when I meet somebody for the first time, I will say their name in my head very quietly 3 times. So if it's Bob, which is a bad example because Bob's not a hard name to remember, I'll say, hi, my name is Dennis Schroy, real nice to meet you. They'll say, hi, my name is Bob, and I'll say Bob, Bob, Bob 3 times in my head to try and make sure that I remember that name. Then that's just a helpful tip for me to make sure that obviously I'm not going to just, saying their name in the conversation is another way, so if I ask a question, hey Bob, it's real nice to meet you, so what do you do, what do you do for fun? And break the conversation with some interesting talk. Maybe it's something about the event. I'll tell you one that I really love is asking them, especially if they have their phone on them, is to what type of phone they have or what type of phone they're using. That conversation can open up a whole genre of different things from a networking perspective. If you think about it, everybody carries a phone. They always have it on them. There's certain apps, people are Apple, people are iPhones, they may have pictures on them. I don't like to go to what do you do conversation. If I'm out and you meet me in a networking situation and you said, what do you do? And I would say, well, I'm a dad, I like to cook, I mountain bike, I snowboard, play golf, not very well, ha ha ha. And that's not the what do you do question. They were asking me what I do because I know they want to know professionally, but I want to invest in people and I want to get to know them. I'll drop their name, so Bob, what do you like to do? That sort of thing will help me to make sure that I remember their name. People really relate to that. If you have that opportunity, you definitely take advantage of it. You're engaged with an individual. I'm not the best poker player, but I hear things like arms across are a show of authority, but it's also a show of being closed off. And if you're in the conversation with somebody that has their arms crossed like this, likely story is that they're either guarding something or they're closed off. If they got their hands like this when they're talking to you, that's an expression of hope or prayer generally, and they're really hoping that something that you have to say or something that you do is going to make sense. If you're sitting across from somebody and they got their hands in their pocket or underneath the table, it generally is a subconscious way of letting somebody know that they got something to hide. So when you are in a conversation, if you could pick up on some of these physical clues as to whether or not they're making eye contact, trying to see if there's somebody more important in the room than you, or if they're standing there like this. If they're standing there like this, sometimes, obviously that's a sign that they're thinking about something intently. So just some physical clues to keep up on. Before I get into the rest of the why I don't carry the business card and some things I do that could be helpful, even if you do carry a business card. In a networking situation, and I'm about to give a webinar here for our speakers only at the top of the hour. Everybody's favorite topic is what? Drum roll. Me. Everybody loves them some me. That's everybody's favorite topic. And when I'm in a networking situation, My fundamental goal is to get as much about that person and make it about them as I possibly can. And I will sit there and I will ask them questions of, because I'm naturally I'm a very curious person, and I'm interested in learning about other people. But I ask a lot of questions, and I get them talking about them, and I invest in them. And then they'll ask a question back to me, and I'll kind of answer it very quickly, and I'll put it back on them. And I make it all about them and the me. And they get just enough to walk away from my hour-long or my 15 or 5-minute encounter that made it all about them, and they feel pretty special. And then they get in the car and they turn to their husband or their wife, and they're driving home, and they say, "Boy, you know, I met this guy tonight that has a marketing company or a marketing conference, and he was just a really wonderful person." And beyond that, they don't know much. But why it's so memorable to them and why they liked it so much is because it was all about their favorite topic, them. So that's when I'm out networking. That's what I do. Those are some of my tips and tricks, for shaking hands, engaging, smiling, investing in people. So now here's what I want to follow up with. I obviously value business cards because I grab a lot of them. And I will take a business card. And again, I want to control the follow-up. I make my notes. But I don't carry a business card and haven't carried a business card in 10 years. And a lot of people make fun of me for that, and that's fine. One of the things that I typically will do in addition to grabbing the business card, though, is that we all carry a smart device with us. Like, it is on everybody at all times, 24/7. Depending on the person that I'm speaking with, how technologically savvy they are, or socially savvy, what a lot of times what I'll do if I'm in a networking situation, I'll just grab a selfie of that individual, and then I'll ask them if they're on Instagram or Twitter, and then I will actually at message them with the selfies referencing the event that we were at, and sometimes I'll even hashtag it. So what's more powerful than that is meeting a meaningful connection with an individual with a selfie, so they're actually going to remember that. Twitter's such a busy environment. Like, you get the reply, the retweet, the favorite on Twitter. It's like, I say this all the time, it's like getting the golden ticket at the Willy Wonka factory. Like, wow, like somebody actually was on Twitter and they paid attention to me. Cool, I'm in. I want to talk with that person. They see the picture, they remember it, and it gives you an opportunity to follow up. And on Twitter, you've got unlimited direct messaging now, so you can actually send that same message that you're sending with an email. Forget about it. Lights out. I love that. I love that play. But that's obviously not going to work for everybody that's not a technologically savvy individual. The other thing, I have my smart device with me. Why can't I just take out my phone and I don't have a business card? Maybe you don't have a business card, and I grab your email right then and there. It's a very quick transaction. You put in the subject title, the event that you're at. You walk away. Thanks a lot. I'm going to shoot you a quick email. It was so great to meet you. And you send a quick email right then and there. You have all the technology in the world that, it just is my opinion, that really essentially makes a business card somewhat obsolete and gives you an even more meaningful relationship with that individual. So those are two of my methods. And I've seen it all. I've seen the business card that's heavier in weight. I've seen the business card. I've got one here someplace. I've got a lot of them. Some of them are like, I hate to call anybody out, but they're like billboards of information. Way too much stuff. Then I've got the cool ones with the branding and design logo. I like that one. You always get your company's logo, smart, strategic, unique. Honestly, I got a pile of 500 business cards. I bet I could find 50 that have smart, strategic, and unique on it right now. You know what's smart and strategic and unique? When you put a selfie of somebody and you email it to them at a networking event to stand out from everybody else. Heavier card stock. That's a cool one. I like that one, but I don't know. The one that I really saw recently that I really, really liked is that an individual had some very selective business cards that he handed out, because it's kind of observing a guy by the name of Jay Bear. He's one of the tops. He's written several business books, Convince and Convert. He's one of the biggest, most downloaded podcasts in the entire world. Matter of fact, we had a brief conversation with Jay and his team to keynote DOYO Live, and I think that's something that we might be able to do in the future, is bring him to town, because he's a really big deal on the Mount Rushmore of marketing people in this day and age. So I noticed that he was passing out a paper business card to people. It was obviously must have, that was his thing. And then he came across somebody that must have been more important, because he whipped out a bottle opener, and I don't have one, but he whipped out a bottle opener that was the size of a business card. That was exactly his business card. So I thought that was a pretty cool one to put into play. I don't know. What do you do? Like, do you carry a business card? Are you a selective networker? Do you pass it out to everybody that you see? Do you grab business cards? Do you still value them? Or are you more in the advanced age where you've got all kinds of media applications in your hand and you could fully take advantage of that situation? I'll leave you with this. I almost changed my mindset about a month ago, because I was having lunch with a very busy executive from a really big company. I'm sitting there at lunch, and it was a pretty lucky meeting for a guy like me at my level to be in with a guy like the one that I was with. And it was a really awesome hour and 15-minute lunch to get that FaceTime. A lot of just really good conversation. I'm just picking brains as much as I possibly could of the success that the individuals had. He was actually investing in my business, and it was a really healthy conversation. And we get down to the end, and he asked me if he has a business card, or if I have a business card. And I said, unfortunately, I do not have a business card. Now, this gentleman is out of the social media demographic. It doesn't fit for the selfie culture. And I made the joke, and I said, I'm sorry, but I don't have a business card on me right now. If I could get yours, I'll make sure I follow up. But the reason why that's a big miss on my part that made me kind of rethink this after 10 years is that's the type of person that takes your business card after a memorable lunch and throws it into the top drawer of their desk. Now, you figure that your average CEO or average person in America is getting 150 to 200 emails a day. But eventually what's going to happen is that individual, that busy executive, is going to have a marketing challenge in the next week to the next year. And he's going to remember this fantastic lunch that we had, of a discussion that took place over marketing, and he may not even remember as 6 months from now the name, right? But he will remember, I had lunch with this marketing guy, and you know what? I know that I put those memorable cards back in the front of the top drawer of my desk, and that's probably where he keeps them, and he goes there and pulls it out, and he's like, let me give this guy a call. So that could be potentially a miss on my part, and made me rethink some of that strategy. Maybe I need to get business cards just to be a little bit more disciplined on who and how I hand those out to, but I'm not fully convinced. Tell me what you think. Love the fact that you dropped by today. It means everything in the world to me, to the conference. And thanks so much. You want to be on a DOYO Live Marketing Show? Inbox me right now.